Hi, I'm Patty Jordan and I'm the IT Principal for the County of San Diego Office of Emergency Services. The Office of Emergency Services provides overall coordination for the response of a countywide emergency.
At the Office of Emergency Services, we take an all-hazard approach to disasters. We do preparedness, we do hazard mitigation and recovery, but really the Emergency Operations Center is all about the response to a disaster. Our relationship with Spinitar goes back a long way. We had an older AV system in the Emergency Operations Center, really wasn't functional anymore, really didn't make sense, was very complicated, and it didn't have support and it was falling apart. We wanted to bring in a local professional that had a great track record to make sure that our AV system was not only high-tech and modern, but also easy to use. We brought Spinitar's AV services into our facility to help modernize what we had. We wanted to make sure that not only did we have a system that met our needs, but it would interact, work together, not just in emergency response, but even day-to-day operations.
We use technology to display maps, to display our core applications, to display social media, so that we have a real-time handle on what is going on during the activation. The goals that we wanted to accomplish for updating our AV system included making things less technical and easier for an average person to just walk in and use.
We had an older system that relied on projectors and were very bulky and burned out and didn't turn on. We wanted to make sure that we had a modern solution, but also, as we discovered, by going modern, things were a lot smaller and compact.
We learned that most people want to use their own device, so we implemented technology that would allow them to do just that. They could come in, plug in directly, and they could start a Teams meeting, give a presentation, do whatever that was needed to respond to the emergency. We updated just about every room here at OES, including the main Emergency Operations Center, where we are now, as well as all of our conference rooms.
These breakout rooms proved to be very invaluable during our COVID response. When we were using a lot of video teleconferencing, these rooms had cameras, speakers, microphones, and displays. They were very easy to work when we needed to use them for conference calls.
Two of the main new technologies that we implemented were something called a universal docking station, which would allow anyone to come in with whatever device they had, plug in using a USB cable so that they could begin work, whether it's a Teams meeting or providing a presentation.
It's so much easier now for someone to bring in their laptop, set it at a video teleconferencing table, plug in one USB, and they're up and running. The microphones, the cameras, the speakers are all hooked in without having to fumble around and try to figure out settings.
We also implemented new video monitors that were interactive so that we could display maps, and the policy team could actually interact with the map, zoom in, zoom out, get an idea of what's going on during the emergency. During COVID-19, the initial event, all of us were in here in the same room. There were over 150 people. Then when the mask mandates happened and we realized we really needed to socially distance, what the AV equipment allowed us to do was to work remotely. So we had staff spread out. They could be anywhere on campus, they could be at home, they could be across town, and they could use the audiovisual equipment to attend Teams meetings and to collaborate remotely.
We are not AV professionals, we are emergency managers, so if something goes wrong, we don't know where to start. So being able to rely on professionals like Spinitar to come in during an emergency and help us out to make sure the AV system is up and running is extremely valuable, but we use that same system on a day-to-day basis. So we need to make sure our system, when you press the on button, that it's going to come up and it's going to work every time.
The last thing you want to do during an emergency is to trip over your technology and think about, oh my gosh, how am I going to get help? So having the support plan up front, you know who to call, when to call, and they know what you're asking for so that they can deploy the resources that are needed when they're needed.
It's very important to know that someone is on call for us 24/7. Emergencies don't always happen during the daytime. If the emergency happens at night and we need to make a phone call, the AV system is not functioning like we think it should, we can call Spinitar and they'll have somebody here right away. At OES, we value teamwork, and it's very apparent that the people at Spinitar also value teamwork. They're always working together, everybody at Spinitar working together to make sure we're a success.
I have named people who I can call whenever I need support. They're very flexible, they're understanding, and they know what we're asking for and why, and we get help, whenever we need it.
We actually didn't meet any of the support models that Spinitar had already made, so they created a custom support model for us just to make sure that during a disaster, the AV system worked flawlessly.
We explained what it is that we do here at the Office of Emergency Services, and they were able to craft a flexible support plan for us. We have regular support for day-to-day work, and we have platinum support for when we're activated.
We were a little bit intimidated at the beginning and trying to redesign an AV system on our own, but bringing in the experts at Spinitar to help explain what we needed, to give us options, to make sure everything worked together, it made it extremely easy for us.
We've had a wonderful relationship with Spinitar for at least a decade now, and we're really looking forward to continuing our work into the future.